Tonight, families of 9/11 victims don't want President Biden coming to ceremonies this year on the 20th anniversary of the attack. We'll talk with one survivor who signed on. What do they want from the president? A mouse in the house. We're talking tonight to the man who, well, found a way to trick a vaccine passport app by using a picture of Mickey Mouse. We'll also take you to the White House, where I'll ask the president's top economic advisor if there's any discussion of another shutdown as masking returns to America. Great to have you with us. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. Two numbers. It's all you need. Two numbers that stand alone and speak volumes about one of the darkest days in our history. Certainly the deadliest attack on U.S. soil. Those two numbers, of course, 9/11. 5 weeks from tomorrow, we will mark 20 years since the attack. But another story is coming to light now that's threatening to overshadow the events. There are nearly 1,800 people directly affected by 9/11 now asking President Biden not to come to any of the memorial events this year. Now, that type of request is almost always noteworthy for obvious reasons, but it's even more salient with this because 9/11 was arguably the last time this country was unilaterally united. We all remember the pain and the patriotism, President Bush standing on the rubble of the World Trade Towers with a megaphone shouting out to a country deeply damaged. Flags that lined neighborhood streets. Our lives came to a halt as we all came together. Which gets us back to today. Why wouldn't victims' families want the president to take part? Well, they want more information. Information the group says candidate Biden promised to release, a pledge to declassify U.S. government evidence about what happened that day, and primarily whether Saudi Arabian leaders had any connection to the attacks. According to a statement released today, the group says, through multiple administrations, the Department of Justice and FBI have actively sought to keep this information secret and prevent the American people from learning the full truth about the 9/11 attacks. The last three administrations declined to release key documents for national security reasons. The Saudi government denies any involvement. And for victims' families, well, it remains an open wound that they're still looking to heal 20 years later. And that's where we start tonight. Joining me is Tim Froelich, 9/11 survivor. He was in the South Tower, seriously injured his legs. And he's one of those who signed on to this letter to the president. Tim, first of all, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. This is a strong statement, Tim. What went into this decision for you and the others who signed on?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. I'm certainly honored to be able to stand here and speak out. What went into it was the idea now that we've gone through three administrations who have basically not helped us. And the opportunity here for the Biden administration to do the right thing and release these documents after 20 years really will be an example, or could be an example, of the transparency that he promised.
Are you convinced the U.S. government is hiding something, Tim?
Yes, I am. We're aware through our investigators that these documents are being kept in secret, potentially for embarrassing issues that have come up or that came up in the plot as well as in the investigation of 9/11. And I'm fully confident that these documents certainly need to come out. The American public need to know the real truth. And certainly in our fight in court, the families deserve the opportunity to have these documents presented in court for a fair potential trial and a fair potential outcome.
Tim, if these materials and these documents are classified, I guess the question would be, how do you know what's in them? Have you heard anything about at all what's in these documents and what exactly you want released?
No, but my question, and I think the 9/11 community's question at this point is, why after 20 years? Why after 20 years? What are we hiding after 20 years? I mean, we've been through, as you said, we've been through three administrations, and we're confident and we're hopeful that we're not going to be going through a fourth here as we get closer to the biggest anniversary, really. I mean, they're all important, right, but this is 20 years now. And if there's nothing here to cover up, and if there's nothing here to hide, then why are these documents not out?
That is the question. Why aren't they out? What have you heard? What have you been told?
Well, we have had state secrets declared against us by the prior administration. Attorney General Barr went ahead and did that after the families were fortunate enough to meet with President Trump. The very next day, the Department of Justice and the FBI classified those documents and, in essence, said, "We have the documents, and you can't have them."
Is there any chance that they ever will be released? Go ahead.
I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that the Biden administration here is going to follow up with being transparent to the American public,
Is
as
it
well
up
as
to the
the
president
9/11 families.
alone, Tim? Can the president unilaterally do it?
I believe. Yes, I believe the president is in a position, as well as Attorney General Garland and members of the administration are in a position to review these documents and, to the best way possible, release information to not only the 9/11 families, but also the public on who was behind the plot, who supported the terrorists when they arrived in the United States, who provided financial support for their car, their rent, their housing. I mean, when these guys arrived in January of 2000, they knew nothing and had nothing. They were on a journey to inflict the evil pain of 9/11 against this country, and that's exactly what they did. But they needed help.
Why now, Tim?
They needed help.
Why with this president? Is it because he's, as a candidate, pledged to be more transparent?
Well, yes. I mean, what the families are asking for the Biden administration, we're asking him to uphold one of the promises that he made to us, not only as 9/11 family members, but also as a country. We're asking for transparency. Right. We want the truth. We want the truth. We believe the truth is in those documents as far as who supported the plot. We have written countless letters to many administrations over the years, including the Biden administration now, and asked for a meeting. We would be open to sitting with the president.
Hey, Tim, before I let you go,
and we have not received a response, unfortunately.
Right. I have one more question for you. Coming up on 20 years, I can only imagine what this has been like for you. Does it every day feel like this happened yesterday to you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know I personally live with the nightmares of not only my own experience, but what I saw that day. I lost my best friend that day. I was with him for a period of time. But one of the things that gives me hope as we approach this day is that we will all unite and we will all go towards the truth and the transparency and the facts about what really happened that day and who was behind it. And that's something that I'm very optimistic about, and I'm hopeful for our country about, because the unity that provided that day is something that we can get back, and we can also learn a great deal about the facts of this plot and actually this mass murder, which it's the greatest mass murder in American history. And there's been no one held accountable for this.
Tim Froelich, 9/11 survivor, it's great to have your voice tonight. Thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless.
All right, same to you. For more now on the country where we fought a war after those attacks 20 years ago, let's welcome in someone who served in Afghanistan, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and Green Beret Scott Mann. Colonel, let's pick up on what Tim said there. Do you think these documents should be declassified?
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me on. I'm probably not the right guy to comment on that because, I don't know what they contain, and I know that a lot of times documents that are held by the government do indeed contain classified information to protect sources and things like that. And I don't pretend to even know whether or not, those things should be declassified. I mean, for just the sake of their healing, I really do pray that they find truth in that and that they find some resolve in that. But I don't think I'm qualified to comment on whether or not they should be declassified.
You served in Afghanistan, Colonel. What did it mean to you to be there after what happened on 9/11?
You know, I was reflecting on that today, Joe, and I got to tell you, it was, I did multiple tours there, as did many of my friends in Special Forces and in other combat arms, and it changed every time. When I first went over there, I lost my Ranger buddy in the Pentagon on 9/11, Cliff, and I had a real sense of retribution and vengeance and walking down the people who were responsible. The second time I went over, it was looking around going, wow, we're still here, and the Taliban are starting to grow a presence. And then my final tour, we were starting, at least Green Berets were, to put Afghans in the lead and work with local villages, and we pulled away from that. And as a result, I think a lot of Afghans are being slaughtered right now. So It was a mixed feeling every time I went back, and every time it was different.
Well, what's changed now, Colonel? Because there's a division for sure. There are people who thought we should have left a long time ago. You mentioned the withdrawal. There are people who are not fond of the withdrawal that's underway right now. Do you think these Afghan forces and troops have a chance against the Taliban the way they're taking over another provincial capital today?
Yeah, I mean, the Taliban are definitely on the march. They are certainly emboldened by their successes. I tell you, it's kind of chilling to watch how they are moving across the country. It's very reminiscent of when they first came in the country, during the Civil War, to restore some kind of security order, and then ruled with an iron fist. So, I mean, it almost harkens back to that. The Afghan National Army and the Afghan police have some collective capacity. I think it is going to be really, really tough for them to hang on to certainly the outlying areas. And now we're seeing the provincial capitals assaulted. Right. Certainly the last stand will probably be in Kabul. I think what will follow, though, and very few people are talking about it, I don't think you're going to see just a collapse in that country. I think what you're going to see is a return to the ethnic civil war of Tajiks, Hazaras, Uzbeks, and Pashtuns, who comprise the Taliban, now digging in and a really, really devastating civil war. And that probably worries me more than anything.
So you're about to launch a film, Colonel, in fact, a soft launch on 9/11, as I understand. It's being called the most accurate account of the war in Afghanistan. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I run a nonprofit called The Hero's Journey, and we help warriors find their voice and tell their story when they come home. And it seemed to me that so many people, including right now, Joe, they don't really know what's going on with this war. So we use storytelling to do that. We did a play that toured the country called Last Out, Elegy of a Green Beret. It's combat veterans and military family members that tell that story. But it's about a sergeant, a Green Beret sergeant, fighting the entire war, and how it pulled him and his family apart, and how he managed to navigate that. And it's going to be a film that we're going to release on Veterans Day and this year, and we really hope that folks will watch it, because all of the proceeds are going to go to our nonprofit to help other veterans tell their story. And I think that's the biggest thing as we close out the longest war in our history, is we can never stop telling the story of the 800,000 veterans and their families who endured the response to 9/11 and who gave, in many cases, everything they had. And that's what this film's about, is telling the story at a local, personal level, so that we can all, understand the cost of modern war, whether we agree with it or not.
Beautifully put. Look forward to the release coming up. Again, the soft release on 9/11, and then the later release on Veterans Day. Retired Army Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel and founder of Spirit of America, Scott Mannis, great to have you with us. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Joe. LastOutFilm.com is where you can see it.
All right, take care. So how good is a vaccine passport app if it can be fooled by a picture of Mickey Mouse? We'll talk to the guy who did just that ahead. Apple says it'll track iPhones to monitor for child porn, but could those good intentions lead to an invasion of your privacy? That's next. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. We have a special guest tonight. I'd like to introduce you to the latest recipient of a New York City vaccine passport. Here he is, Mickey Mouse. Appears received the Pfizer vaccine. According to regulations in New York, Mickey's good to go now for gyms and restaurants starting August 16th. Well, in fact, this is actually the work of Albert Fox Khan, a technology privacy advocate. He uploaded Mickey's pic instead of his vaccine card, and, well, it was accepted. Albert Fox Khan joins us now. I have to tell you, Albert, we've been laughing and enjoying this story all day long. I'm sure you're getting a lot of play. The good news here in the headline is, I guess, that Mickey's vaccinated.
Yeah, the good news is that, he got the shot like, every American should. The problem here is that we have the latest example of terrible technology being rolled out in response to this pandemic.
So walk us through what happened here. Mayor de Blasio, as I understand, said the app couldn't be hacked. So you set out to see if it was true.
Well, the problem here is part of why they're saying the app can't be hacked is because the app doesn't really do anything. It's not a vaccine app, it's a camera app. All it does is take a photo and have you click a little button to say, that's my vaccine card. So I took a photo of Mickey Mouse, uploaded it, and they said I was good to go. And really, I'm someone who carries around my real CDC vaccine card with me every day and who thinks this is incredibly important to get every New Yorker vaccinated. But this technology is just a PR stunt, and I think it's one that's really going to be a setback for the city.
So explain how this works, though, because the picture of Mickey Mouse isn't going to get you in anywhere, right? So what does it prove? That maybe you could upload a picture of a bogus vaccine card, or what do we learn from this?
Well, you could take a vaccine card from any person's social media post, from the CDC website itself, and just upload it, and in seconds you would have a pass that, is going to be accepted in New York under the new rules. And so, part of my question here is, why did we build this in the first place? Because this is no better than when people take a copy of their CDC card using just the app built into their phone, just using that camera.
That's what I was wondering about. Why would you do this if you could just take a picture of it and then you have it on your phone, right? So the other question that I want to ask you on this, Albert, is if someone could actually hack in and get the vaccine card that you upload, or is it just a picture?
So with the app, it's hard to know if there are vulnerabilities. Anytime you have a new app on your phone, there are risks. Part of the issue here is that, the app is collecting data. It is collecting your IP address. It is logging every time you open it. And, that's data that they don't need in order to just have a simple photo. That's, data that wasn't collected when, I took a photo of my vaccine card, back in April.
Right. So there's another app the state is using, Excelsior Pass, I think is what it's called. And you gave that one a crack too. What happened?
Well, that one took all of 11 minutes to hack into, so really cutting-edge security here. I mean, part of the problem is we keep treating this as a technology issue, but this is about trust. This is about building trust in the vaccine. This is about building trust in our neighbors when they say they've been vaccinated, and that's not something that the technology will fix. And with the state app, not only was it easy to forge, but we later found out through our investigation that the state is on the hook for up to $17 million for this incredibly weak technology.
Wow. All right, so the takeaway lesson here is either just carry the card or take a picture of it yourself. But we sure had fun with this story, and I'm sure you are as well. Albert, it is great to have you. Albert Fox-Cahn, Surveillance Technology Oversight Project. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our parents have pictures of us as kids in a bathtub or running through the sprinklers. And how is this recognition system supposed to tell the difference between child pornography or your 3-year-old in the bathtub?
That was data scientist Liberty Vittert talking to, how about this, Leland Vittert last night on Balance. So you had this story first last night. Your sister adds a lot of insight from her data knowledge.
Yeah, well, it's not every day that you get to have a TV anchor in the family of somebody who's a Harvard data scientist. She's quite proud of me.
You're bringing up the rear, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, have been for a while.
So it's hard to argue with the premise of this, right?
Right,
I mean,
and that's part of the deal here, right? Apple says we're going to go catch child pornographers and child abusers. So they've set up this straw man argument. If you are against them going through and essentially surveying every photo on your phone and on your iCloud account and on your kids' phones, then somehow you are for child abusers. It's an amazing PR manipulation that they've done.
So how does this happen? Is this just new phones, or would you have to sign off on this every time you update your iOS?
Yeah, for obvious reasons, you can't opt out of this program. And basically what Apple is saying is that they've developed an algorithm that will look through every photo on your phone when the new iOS comes out. And it is going to flag suspicious photos, send them to some Apple tech god war room. And if they believe that these images show either child pornography or child abuse, they're going to give them over to authorities, which on its face sounds great, although they still haven't decided how they're going to separate, as Liberty was talking about, the difference between a picture of a kid running through a sprinkler at 3 years old or in a bathtub versus child abuse. So now all of a sudden this Apple war room has pictures of your kids. Right. And as journalists, we're always taught to ask why in cases like this. Well, why now?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing is Apple's all about privacy.
Right.
I mean,
they advertise about it.
Right. It's their marketing campaign in many ways. And the first story, Leland, that came to mind to me today was the mass shooter in San Bernardino.
Exactly.
Remember, Apple they went to court, I think, to fight unlocking that phone. So how now are they able to get access to all of our pictures?
Oh, it's a great question, which is that they could have unlocked the shooter's phone to begin with. What they're saying here is that we are building this into the phone. So you are essentially, by downloading the new iOS that has this feature on it, allowing them access. But going back to the why now, it does sort of lay bare their argument that the second you open the Pandora's box of unlocking encryption, of pulling back privacy, well, Apple said we just can't do that. Now they are. It's one thing to do it in the United States. You can just imagine what the Chinese government is going to use these features for.
All right, Leland Vittert, thanks for stopping by. You can see his show coming up at the top of the hour, just about 35 minutes from right now. It airs after our program, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, on Balance. Stay tuned for that. So get this, call 911 and police send a social worker. It's happening in Boston. The city's former police chief is here to react to it, and his take might surprise you. Also, the White House may withhold funding for some institutions if they don't vaccinate their workforce. Is that fair? Ahead. Here's a scenario for you. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man acting erratically. Could you please send a police officer? Under a new policy in Boston, the dispatcher likely wouldn't send a police officer to certain crisis calls, but a mental health worker instead. Is this the future of policing? Daniel Linsky was head of the Boston Police Department for 5 years and is now a security consultant. Chief, this actually started while you were there. What's different about this?
I think the intensity of the resources and some partnering with other agencies in the PD, where more individuals will be doing this, and we can do it with more situations than just the teams we had. In 2008, we saw that we had a lot of homeless individuals in mental health crisis. We were doing the 911 calls and constantly, taking them into custody for minor crimes and blogging up the system. So we partnered up with some officers that would go out and work with mental health and homeless advocates to try and deal with case situations and try and deal with the solution to a long-term problem, the individual and their homelessness, not just the short-term problems of the misdemeanor crimes that were occurring. We had crisis workers who were driving around with police officers. They weren't the primary response to a call, but they certainly were responding and backing up officers. And when they could use their skill sets to de-escalate, they certainly did.
So how did this work in practice then, or how will it work in practice? When a call comes in, like the one we just, for example, used, how will they know that they could just send someone from the mental health services to do this call?
There may be those calls where a family member calls and says, my son or daughter is off their medicine and they're having issues and they're in crisis, right? So that's clearly a mental health crisis. Unfortunately, people who think we're no longer going to send police to people in mental health crisis they don't understand the job. Right. We don't sometimes know that someone's in a mental health crisis until the police respond for a crime. They're assaulting somebody, they're breaking, they're doing damage, they're hurting something, they're assaulting a domestic partner. That's when we get a call for a crime and we respond to that. Maybe we determine that this person is in mental health and has some issues that need to be dealt with more with healthcare than with the courts, but we often don't know that till we get on scene. So we're still going to be doing that. It'll be nice to see that there's more resources available. Police officers would love nothing more than to have clinicians be able to de-escalate somebody instead of having to go hands-on and put somebody in custody when using force.
Right. I mean, we're looking at some of this video here that gives you an example of some of the things that officers are called to respond to, and there are others that you mentioned, Chief, or maybe they don't think it's at a level where you need a police officer, but we've seen officers get into some really dicey situations. And I guess the question is what happens if they're not there?
Absolutely. And, we worked hand in Boston EMS takes tens of thousands of calls for people in mental health crisis where police never respond. They also take a lot of calls where police go with them because the individual is combative, armed with a weapon. There's a history of, if you pull up the premise history, there's a history of assaultive behavior in the EMTs. Mm-hmm. So those are the cases we want to make sure officers are there to maintain the peace if it should come to that. But having additional resources and trying to de-escalate situations, absolutely supported. I think the officers in the Boston Police Department support it. I think every cop in America supports it. We don't want to defund the police. Right. We want to reimagine what police are and how we can support police in the community in keeping people safe.
Right, because that is really a key part of this. People will hear, well, Boston's doing this. Is it coming at the expense of the police department? And in this case, as I understand it, it's almost $2 million that's not coming from the police budget, but from the Health and Human Services budget.
Absolutely. So Health and Human Services, Boston EMS, they're putting resources into this. And I believe there's some private partners as well. We have a great partnership with the hospitals in Boston, who often put resources to make sure they're doing community health care and working with our officers, our EMTs, and our Boston Best Team crisis response team for people that are in crisis.
So when you look at a scene like we were just watching there, let's just say that someone from the mental health services is there on this call, and then it escalates. Is it a matter of getting an officer there quickly, or will there be an officer with them there?
Hopefully the officer is, if need be, if the situation calls for it, and people had a heads up that there was going to be a potential for violence, the officer is staged somewhere nearby and ready to respond if need be, if the mental health crisis counselors are overwhelmed and assaulted. We often will stage. EMS will sometimes wait for us to go first. Sometimes we'll wait for EMS to go first. But we often do stage and kind of plan out a response to make sure that we have tools to deal with the situation. If we can deal with it with the minimum amount of force and de-escalate it without, any police intervention, we'd like to do that, and we do, and maintain out of sight, out of mind. If we have to use police officers, we want them to be there quickly. We want to make sure we're keeping our health care and our mental health crisis workers safe as well.
All right. Well, it's an interesting policy, and we will see, because it does sound like something that a lot of departments are doing, as you said, reimagining policing in America. Former Boston Police Chief, now Managing Director at Kroll Security, that's Daniel Linsky. Chief, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Struggling renters across the country were able to breathe a sigh of relief when the federal government extended the national moratorium on evictions earlier this week. But now some people argue that measure is unconstitutional. Joining me now is Joel Griffin of the Rowe Institute at the Heritage Foundation, who calls the eviction moratorium, quote, a threat to the rule of law, federalism, and fundamental constitutional rights. Joel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. How is it a threat?
Well, thanks for having me tonight. Well, this eviction moratorium by the CDC, it's unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and that's because Congress never gave the Centers for Disease Control such power. If you look at the Public Health Services Act, which is what actually empowers the CDC to take any action whatsoever, it gives the CDC a very specific list of things it can do to control the spread of communicable diseases. Things like fumigation, things like extermination. Nowhere in that list does it even hint at being able to issue any type of an eviction moratorium. And President Biden knows this, as does the CDC director.
Yeah, he admitted
as does the Supreme Court.
Right. I mean, he said, yeah, it might be. It could be. I guess we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, it buys us some time. Who is this on then, Joel? It sounds like Congress says it's up to the president. The president says it's up to Congress. CDC's not quite sure what to do.
Well, CDC director understands that this is an unconstitutional act that she engaged in. And really, when it comes down to it, Congress does not even have the power to issue an eviction moratorium. They didn't give the CDC the power. Congress itself does not have the power, because what this does is it criminalizes access to the courts, and it really erases private property rights. Congress can only do what is necessary and proper. That's in the Constitution, necessary and proper. And it is never proper to criminalize going to the courts to actually enforce your contract rights, which is what this eviction moratorium does.
But this isn't rent forgiveness, Joel. I mean, the renters have to pay the money back, right?
Well, yes and no. But what this does right now is it says if you dare use a state court to enforce your right, you are in violation of the law and you will go to prison. And it tells those courts that they too are engaged in criminal activity if they dare hear a case. This is completely unlawful. And second of all, although illegally the renter that has failed to pay will owe the money, we all know that after that 12-month period, there is very little chance at all that the landlords will collect a dime from those tenants. They will be eventually evicted, and the landlords will be forced to eat the loss.
Right, which a lot of them have been doing all along here, but there's also been a foreclosure moratorium as well. So landlords have in some ways, am I right, gotten the same benefit?
Well, some of these foreclosure moratoriums as well really are not lawful. But the moratorium is without a doubt unlawful because the act that the CDC is relying upon does not give them that power. Think about this. If the CDC can enter an eviction moratorium in response to a health crisis, imagine what else they could do. They could potentially do what they're doing in Australia and ban you from going more than a mile or two outside your home. They could ultimately put in mandates on business operations. If they can halt a moratorium, there really is no limit to the powers that the CDC has. And that's why this goes beyond, far beyond real estate law and property rights. This goes to the very core of our country, separation of powers. The fact that executive branch can only do what Congress authorizes them to do, and that Congress can only do what the Constitution authorizes Congress to do. This is wrong on both counts.
Well, all right. It's affecting a lot of people, not just the landlords as well, but 10 million people said to be behind their rent right now. 14% of renters is what the estimate is. Joel Griffin of the Heritage Foundation, good to have you tonight. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, thank you.
The White House taking a victory lap after nearly 1 million jobs came back to the economy in July, but those numbers were taken before the rise of the Delta variant. The top White House economic advisor joins us next. Is reportedly considering withholding funds from certain institutions to essentially force them to require their employees to get the vaccine. Joining me now, News Nation's Allison Harris with more on that. Allison?
Joe, since President Biden became president, he has talked about a whole of government approach. He's talked about a wartime effort to combat COVID. Now his approach is getting more forceful, considering withholding federal funds to institutions that do not require employees to get vaccinated. The president's spokeswoman saying today there are early conversations about this, mentioning today nursing homes and long-term care facilities among the industries that are being talked about. The idea is that the administration could withhold Medicare money to those facilities if they do not vaccinate their workforce.
Yes, there are early conversations, early discussions about a range of options. Those are all early stage.
The administration has said it is not going to do a federal vaccine mandate. The president has already announced a vaccine mandate for federal workers, including an intent to mandate vaccination of the military. But that, paired with incentives like multi-million-dollar lotteries and $100 payouts to people who get vaccinated, has not proven incentive enough to get tens of millions more of Americans vaccinated. Joe?
Allison, thank you very much.
What is indisputable now is this. The Biden plan is working, the Biden plan produces results, and the Biden plan is moving the country forward.
That was President Biden speaking this morning, touting the jobs report from July, and the numbers sure do at least look good. Last month, the economy added 943,000 jobs, led in part by a return to traveling. No doubt we got a lot of help from the leisure and hospitality industry on these numbers. The unemployment rate dropped to 5.4%. The lowest that's been since the spring of 2020. The numbers, though, were taken in the first half of last month before the Delta variant sparked hundreds of thousands of new COVID cases across the country, posing a threat to reopening the economy. Joining me now, White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein. Jared, it's great to see you again. These are great numbers, no doubt about that. Lots to celebrate. We're cruising along. It seems like really the only thing that could get in the way here is the Delta variant. I'm wondering, is there any talk inside of going back to lockdowns?
No, there isn't. And what we have in this jobs report is a whole lot of momentum pushing toward a robust recovery with the president's plan working, getting shots in arms and checks in pockets. People are re-engaging with commerce, and at a rate that's accelerated, as we see in the report. A half a point decline in the unemployment rate. That's a very large monthly tick down. 943,000 jobs, as you've said. You know, we like to average out over a few months to get more at the trend and get away from any monthly bips and bops. If you do that, you have 830,000 jobs per month. Those of you who've been following those kinds of numbers know that that's a very speedy rate of job growth. 4 million jobs since this president was inaugurated. That's a record.
Right. Jared, are you worried at all about the virus? I mean, we've had changes in the mask regulations, and we're now hearing about mandates for vaccines for federal employees. Any concern at all about the COVID virus?
Well, when you're talking about COVID and any concern at all, the answer is always, of course, going to be yes. But I think the thing that people need to recognize and realize, and you can see this across the nation, is that we have the public health scaffolding, the public policy, and the vaccine distribution in place to deal with whatever confronts us in this space. And one of the things that is important for folks to know about is where we see vaccination rates going up the quickest is in places where we have the least people vaccinated. You know, when this president took office, 1% of adults were fully vaccinated. That's a 1. That's now a 60% figure. And that gives you a sense of the effectiveness of this campaign. But we're going to have to continue to push harder to make sure that this kind of labor market progress continues.
So we're down almost 6 million jobs from before the pandemic, Jared. That will be a milestone when we get there. Realistically, when do you think that might happen? And do you think with this new economy it will?
Oh, I do think it will. And I think if you just sort of track out the kinds of gains that we're getting now, the progress they're making, you know, if you're talking about 4 million jobs since the president got here, that's 6 months. We're down 5.7 million. So if you do the math, we're on pace to get back there sooner than later. But the point is that we need to continue to tap this, what I referred to a minute ago, as this public health scaffolding that we have in place. This president, from before he was elected, when I was working with him during the campaign, he always talked about the dual health and economic aspects of COVID-19. On one side, it's a health issue. On another side, it's very much an economic issue. So if we can keep making progress on the safe, effective vaccine, safe and effective against the variants, we'll continue to post jobs numbers of these magnitudes.
Well, yeah, I've always heard the #1 rule in virus economics is take care of the virus. The unemployment, enhanced unemployment benefits, Jared, are set to expire soon. I'm wondering if you think that's good for the economy. Is that holding people back from filling these jobs we're talking about?
You know, I think the important place to start there is, quote, these jobs we're talking about. So 943,000 jobs in July, an average over the past 3 months of 830,000 per month. What that tells you in the context of your question is that there are strong job opportunities out there for people, whether they're entering the job market, and 1 million people have come into the job market since the beginning of the year, or whether they're coming off the unemployment insurance rolls. The president has said that the enhanced benefits will roll off in September as planned. And the important thing there is that people have ample, strong opportunities to go into with growing wages. And that's what we saw in today's report.
They do, Jared. But the problem is, and we're hearing from them on our program here, mom and pops who say they are having a hard time hiring workers. How do we get the policy and the changes? And what's the answer to get these folks back to work?
Well, I think the key there is to just keep pressing on the dual challenges of the health and the economic aspects of where we are in today's economy. If we keep getting the vaccine in people's arms and we continue to make progress like we did in July in the jobs report, and as I've suggested, I think we have real momentum there, and I expect this progress to continue. People re-engage with commerce, schools reopen. We see child care facilities ready to reopen. By the way, that takes us to the Building Back Better plan that the president is trying to move forward. That is actually critical to providing child and elder care to people who want to get back into the job market. So you see that our policy ought to be helpful in that regard as well.
Hey, Jared, I ask you every time we get together, and I'll ask you again, are you worried at all about the deficit or the debt?
Well, look, I'm paid to worry about everything, and I earn my paycheck. What I would point out in that regard is that whether we're talking about the infrastructure plan or whether we're talking about the Building Back Better plan, we're talking about investments in transit, in rail, in clean water, in broadband, in electric vehicles, in education, in care, critical investments to the American people. And here's the key, responding to your question, paid for. So the president pays for these initiatives, as do Democrats and Republicans, with the bipartisan infrastructure plan.
And the fear is our children as well, Jared.
That's intended to offset precisely the kinds of financing you're discussing.
All right. Well, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Jared Bernstein, it's always good to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
All right, Google, how do you say help in Japanese? The sprinter from Belarus. Remember, she defected to Poland. She was worried about getting arrested for criticizing her country's Olympic officials. Now we found out she sought last-minute help at the airport in Tokyo by using Google Translate on her phone. Kristina Simanuskaya typed a message for police asking for help and then hit translate from Belarusian to Japanese. Her grandmother had warned her not to come home. Simanuskaya took her advice and defected to Poland. Up next, I'll tell you why these very different Olympic Games were actually a success. The Olympics wrap up this weekend. Remember the debate going in, the protests, the demonstrators saying the games should have been canceled because of COVID. Heading in, Tokyo declared a state of emergency and made several drastic changes for these games. There were no fans, no families, no parties, but there were world records and dramatic finishes. The athletes persevered and performed under tremendous pressure, like so many have during the pandemic. And that symbolism shouldn't be lost on a world that's still reeling in many ways. It wasn't a typical Olympic Games. But then again, what has been typical the past year? Consider this. More than 500,000 people at the Games were tested for COVID. 500,000 more. The total number of confirmed positive cases, 124, which puts the positivity rate at 0.02%. If we've learned anything 15 months later, it's that we all have to find a way to live with the virus. We know the vaccine works. Masks do too. As we watch the closing ceremony this weekend, here's hoping we can all agree on something else. Tokyo and the IOC made the right call. That's our time for tonight. Have a good night, a great weekend. Leland's next with On Balance.